a smile on my face. Got a smile, got a smile, got a smile. I got a smile on my face like Miss Seeley. And even though I'm not a young, sexy size 6 like I used to, and the state ain't sent my tax refund like they're supposed to, and I probably won't get to take that big vacation like I really want to, but it's not all that deep. So I might as well smile like Miss Seeley. See, I'm learning that all these frowns don't change a thing or make things right. It just brings in the darkness and wipes out my light, makes me tussle with demons on a downward plight. So I've decided instead, I'm going to smile like Miss Seeley. And I know that negativity repels what we really want. And what I really want ain't all the food and clothes and shoes in the world. And what I really want ain't all the food you can eat on a ship line cruise around the world. No, see, those things may be nice, but I'm a little bit different. You know, most people wouldn't think twice about obtaining those things. What I'm really looking for is happiness. Simply happiness with a kiss of bliss on the end. So I've decided instead, I'm going to smile like Miss Seeley. You know, happiness comes in many ways and forms, like a strong big hug from my 19 and 20-year-old sons, or that surprise text message from your sister or my mother that says, I love you, or lunch with my friends and our laughter that echoes throughout the room and causes everybody to turn around and stare. Or taking that chance, that risk, that dare that you could possibly look like a fool, and then it turns out you changed someone's life with a little bit of good. See, now I'm really smiling like Miss Seeley. So I'm open. I'm open for happiness to come to me in whatever way it pleases. Flinging open doors and windows wide, because I realize that the only way that happiness will come is if I make the choice to smile like Miss Seeley. Hi, I'm Kisha Freed, and I am the CEO and founder of WordExpress.com and publishing, and I'm also an artist and an eternal student of consciousness, thus consciousness artist. You know, what's so amazing about that poem is that it came to me while I was standing in the middle of a department store. And what's even more amusing is that Miss Seeley kept showing up over and over and over again. And so, you know, that's what's so cool about being an artist. You get hit with this inspiration when you least expect it, and sometimes characters show up, and what we do is we honor them. So I'm going to take a moment to honor Miss Seeley. How many of you have heard of, read the book, or at least have seen the movie The Color Purple? Quite a number of you. Some of you haven't. Okay. Well, Miss Seeley is the main character of the book The Color Purple by Alice Walker. And she is, unfortunately, psychologically and physically abused by first her stepfather and then later on her husband, which creates this sense of low self-esteem. But what's so amazing about Miss Seeley's story is that in this pivotal point in her life, she was able to turn her life around and liberate herself from the psychological, mental, and emotional chains of abuse and set herself free and smile freely. Now, my question is, how did she do that? Well, you may be familiar with the wise saying that you can't control what happens in your life, but what you can do is control how you respond to it. What if, even in the most challenging or difficult moments in our lives, we were to stop and ask the question, how can I respond to this situation? Or what could I do differently? See, when we ask that question, we open our small world to this universe of possibility. And in that moment of opening ourselves to that universe of possibility, we have this opportunity to tap into a superpower that we often forget, that we often overlook. And that is the superpower of choice. Now, I believe that Miss Seeley discovered her superpower of choice, and that is how she turned her life around. If we look throughout history, we can also say that many of our superheroes used their superpower of choice as well. Think about it. The late South African President Nelson Mandela chose to forgive those who inflicted cruel and unusual punishment upon him while he was serving time in prison. Eleanor Roosevelt, former First Lady under the FDR administration, chose to speak out so that minorities and women could have opportunities in the 60s, something that you just don't do. Survivors of Nazi concentration camps chose life even when death was being enforced upon them. And last of all, one of my favorite superheroes, Harriet Tubman, freed herself by running to the north, but once she got there, she chose to go back to the pre-Civil War South and free 1,000 slaves. So we look at these superheroes and we read his story and her story and we say, wow, what amazing souls. But what we fail to see is that each and every one of us has this very same superpower. It's just a matter of us taking note of it, using it consciously in big ways and in small ways. So let me tell you about another one of my favorite superheroes who used this superpower of choice. I first heard this story in a writing therapy workshop that I authored and facilitated for breast cancer survivors, caregivers, and patients through my company. And a breast cancer survivor in my class by the name of Rosalind Harris Alexander told me this captivating story about Kimberly Fales Jones. Kimberly was diagnosed with breast cancer. But this wasn't just your ordinary case of breast cancer. You see, the cancer eventually spread to her spine, creating these miniature fractures and almost leaving her immobile. I want to share the story that Rosalind shared in the workshop with you. And these are her words. I was visiting Kimberly in the hospital. She had some complications, and friends and family, we were rotating to comfort her and support her. But I needed to let her know that I was not going to be able to visit her because I was having surgery. Kimberly lied there in the bed, and she just looked at me. She said, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there for you. And I thought to myself, how in the world is she going to be there for me when she's in the hospital with her own health complications? But I didn't argue with her. I just said, okay. Well, on the next day, as I was being admitted into the hospital, Kimberly was being discharged. And I went into surgery, and they brought me out into recovery. It wasn't too long before Kimberly, just as she promised, was coming into the recovery room with her mother pushing her in her wheelchair. Kimberly pulled up beside my bed, and she made sure that we were face to face. And she smiled at me. This beautiful, black, bald-headed woman with this beautiful aura and this radiant smile looking at me. And I remember her being strong and talking to people in the room and saying, bring me that over there. I need this. She needs this. Do you think you can make that happen? Hand me that face towel. And then cleaning my face. When I was in pain, she rubbed my hands. She put chapstick on my lips. And when I fell asleep from the anesthesia, when I awakened, Guess who was there? Kimberly, smiling at me. And I know she was there for a while because this happened several times where I fell asleep and I woke up and she was still there, smiling. This was the spirit of Kimberly Fales Jones, Rosalind said to me. And I know that she did this not just for me, but for so many others, because that's just the kind of person that she was. Kimberly Fales Jones chose to be there for others in spite of her terminal illness. She established the Kimberly Fales Jones Memorial Foundation, which is currently operating today to support breast cancer patients financially, mentally, emotionally, and even at times physically. Kimberly, unfortunately, passed away September 10th, 2010. So within 3 days from today, it would be 4 years. And I'm deeply touched because I didn't realize that until this morning. She is definitely one of my #1 heroes. So as you can see, we all have this superpower of choice. But the most important lesson is that we must learn to use this power deliberately, on purpose. You see, we can no longer say, well, he's the chosen one or she's the chosen one, because there are no Neos, as in the Matrix. You are the chosen one, because in any moment, at any time, in any place, you have the superpower of choice. And now I want to close with a poem that I wrote. I hope you enjoy this. This is called Schoolhouse Rock, 2014. You are a superhero too. She is a star burning bright, using her might to lift community burdens with just one finger, making sure that no child is left behind or lingers, facing her fears and addictions, overcoming with conviction, balancing family and profession, no concession to break glass ceilings, leaping high over power lines, defying fine wrinkles and lines that could define and limit her powers and capabilities. She is Wondrous Woman. And he is an inspiration and motivation, bidding on proposals of innovation, tackling self-doubt and temptation, overcoming obstacles in a single bound, running at lightning speeds, leaving the crowd spellbound. Wow. Juggling numbers on the NASDAQ, leaving competitors in his dust tracks. He is Superman. And you... Me? Yes, you. When life throws fire flames your way, you stand still and you have no fear. And you say, I don't burn. And the fire flame gets closer and closer. And then you remember your power of choice. And then you realize, hey, all I got to do is turn to the right and watch the fire flame pass you by. Whew. See, I told you, you are a superhero too. So take off your cape, relax in this chair and prop your feet up. And always, always remember your superpower to choose. Thank you.